know. So, I think that the next step for the thing that we call life is there. The fact that fun to hear the piece that just came out today. Actually, I probably want to post it. I just couldn't those four books that had four books involved the white for Fahrenheit 451 and I just started the so maybe catch up like what 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 was you know it as an artist, as a filmmaker, as a poet, one thing that I'm just trying to figure out like how do we go about it, how I go about it. Because now I'm at a point now where I actually have that power to use for that as fantasy. So I think that right now it's like trying to really figure that out. You know, it's crazy because um, we've seen so much, and also too, we're beginning to see a cycle happen where a lot of stuff that we thought conversations that we thought that were non-existent are existing now. The evolution of thought, the evolution of what we're going to do in the society and country as a healthy way of perceiving itself. Because at this point, you know, it is survival of the fittest. Shout out to Prodigy. His birthday was this week. And kind of like that song, we're at a time when you have to really know your politics. You have to understand what your politics are too. Um, I'm pretty sure because but anyway, so I think that we move forward in society is really trying to figure out what what are you trying to do in the society? Like, what is the plan? If you're a politician right now, I'm gonna put this probably out in the next couple weeks or so. What is the plan for politicians? What is the plan? Honestly, also too, what is the plan for white women? What is the white woman's plan for her freedom? That's the question I'm asking white women right now. What is your plan for freedom? Because I think that I was trying to boggle my mind on what I was trying to say, but I think the invention around that is, manhood should not be just equated to money. When you think about white manhood, things I think about is military money. I don't think about like anything else. People say, well, it's other stuff like dignity, honor, and all that, but I don't see that from honestly from white males. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I don't know. But what we've seen in society is that laws, and I wouldn't say this. I was trying to figure out what I was trying to say when I got on here, but laws are very interesting. You know, because we can sit here and say, well, this law means something, this law don't mean something, right? And a lot of times we have to understand, especially black people, like laws are a function of the how it's upheld. So if you have a law that's upheld a certain way, then it's going to be treated a certain way. I'm not sure that's maybe something I can explore too in a later future for a future self when I see this again later on in life. Um, is the aspect of how laws are created and whether or not these laws actually create the effect that they're supposed to create. because people are obsessed in this country, and rightfully so, that a law changes things, right? That if we create this law to do certain X, Y, and Z things, then these things are going to happen. And sometimes they happen, and sometimes they don't. We don't know until we put our foot into it. But really, it's really so much not really about laws. It's more so about conversations, right? Like this conversation right now with abortion around why, what is the obsession of men, us men, trying to figure out what to do with a woman's body? What is it, us as men? What are we trying to do with that? I don't really know. I really don't understand it. I don't, even in sports, like I got to a point now where if a trans person wants to play an X sport, let them play. Like it's just a sport. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to come together, right? Like ain't that supposed to be the point of this stuff? Ain't it supposed to just be like, harmless fun and just figuring out as you go and stuff, not just like some like becomes a battleground for, what's normalcy and what's not normal and all that type of stuff. Like we're getting into like, we're really, we're about to see, especially in the society, we're about to go into deep waters when it comes to politics. And I see that unfortunately, you know, it's hard. It's gonna make hard. It's gonna be hard for people to swim. And I'm gonna say this too, and I'm gonna get off here. I just want to say something real quick. I'm gonna emphasize this to black politicians. To black politicians right now, and I'm gonna say this to anybody, whoever you are, from here, from Emeryville to Albany. I know you got some black folks out there, any out there black politicians. Right now, you may have I'm pretty sure you got, the mayor of Stockton is a Christian Republican, so he's probably deaf for whatever what happened today. Um, it is funny, right? And I'm gonna say this too. I'm gonna say this too, and it's very disturbing, right? So now Michael Tubbs was the mayor of Stockton, and he got a national brand because he was like a young black man running a city, especially as big as Stockton, who just came out of a bankruptcy. Even though the one of the main, like a lot of companies actually go out there, like Deere Company is out there. They got a lot of farming. So to me personally, Stockton, I don't know why Stockton's broke. I don't know why none of these cities are broke. That's very it's but I think to me personally, going back to what happened with Tubbs out there in Stockton is that now that I kind of shaped it together, it's frankly disturbing how, I mean, I'm gonna talk and I'm thinking about it, that the newscast, how the newscast um, uses uses um, uses Republican Democrats as a linchpin for using violent articles. In San Francisco, in Oakland, I haven't heard any lately. I haven't heard anything about no sideshows in the newscast. I haven't heard anything about no brazen Louis Vuitton store chases in the newscast. And I'm always curious. So it's like the only time the newscast wants to showcase violence is when there's a Democrat or when it's a issue or something, right? Like going back to Stockton, like I remember now thinking like the articles coming out of Stockton about all the violence coming out, and now that I thought couple of years, I'm like, has the violence just stopped in Stockton, or I'm just the fact that because it's a Republican a Republican man running the city of Stockton, who's a Christian man, that there's no conversation about what's going on in Stockton in terms of violence, in terms of poverty, in terms of none of that. But it's okay for them not to talk about that because he's Republican. And what happens is Republicans are giving grace. The centrist Democrats are giving grace, a la Leonard Breed and Libby Schaaf, because in some ways we still want our politicians to be oligarchy types. We want them to be um, guys who can wear suits and ties. That's what we want our politicians to be. We don't want our politicians to be, actually like making changes and trying to figure this thing out. And nah, we don't want that. We want, Leonard Breed. We like her in her suits. Libby Schaaf too. But when you really start talking about their policies and what they've done, you've seen that they've made a lot of mistakes and really don't really know what they're doing. But then again, going back to what I'm just trying to say about this big thing about Tubbs and whether or not it's this Republican, Christian man in Stockton, a lot of these black politicians have no clue what they're doing and have no sense and idea of what the destiny of what their city should be. And that's a real conversation to have. And also knowing, also too, this is very important. And I used to think scoff at this, but this is really important. And I'm gonna talk about this a lot. You gotta have something to do for the youth, man. You gotta have something to do for people to actually live in your city, man. Stop thinking that the only time, like making your cities basically into just super residential, and then there's nothing else. Like there's nowhere to go in your city. Like no, everybody ain't just trying to go to Pier 39. Like everybody ain't just trying to go to. What can you do in Erie-Ville in 2022? I don't know. What can you do in Albany in 2022? And those things are important. That's why you have all these sideshows too. Because it's like, I'm a kid, I'm 16, 17 years old. Where's it for me to go at 8, 9 o'clock at night? Maybe I don't want to go home. I wasn't one of those kids that was. I was one of those kids that was out until like I was out all night, doing hell shit, partying, whatever, going to the club or dancing, people, whatever. I was trying to figure. I was trying to do as a kid, 16 years old. I was out at 1 o'clock at night acting a whole fool. So I don't know. I just feel like that's the reality we in. Of learning of learning how to really city plan a real city, not a city just trying to build and build and build, and then you trying to have these visit Oakland, visit Albany, and visit this, and it's a bunch of old people stuff. When okay, you do you. I mean, you're trying to do residential housing. You want everybody don't want to live in an apartment. I mean, if you're trying to build all these apartments in these cities from all the way up here, up in Albany, up and down the street, that means that's young people. That's not old people housing. That's young people housing. And if you know what I'm saying? Because if you want a person to be there starting when they're 25, 26, 27, 28, that means they're going to be single. That means they still want to party. Yeah, they may want to have a little business and all that, but they still want a functional a functional city that has a downtown to it. And I think a lot of these cities don't understand that. Yes, there's a freeway. Yes, we have freeways, but we're in the time. Ain't we supposed to like not ride as much as we used to? Ain't the time we're not supposed to do these things? So I just think like when I really like emphasize that with black politicians these days, I just don't know what they're doing. I have no clue, and I think nobody really knows. And I think that's the thing I'm scared about because when I think about the black politicians in the Bay, I don't. What do they do? Like, who are they? Like, what type of person they are? And I think they don't really get that. They just think, oh, I'm just happy I'm here. Like I'm happy. Like I came to this white cookout and they gave me doors and shit. Like doors. And I think that's how I feel. I don't feel the creativity. I don't feel none of that from these politicians. All I feel like is like we're just gonna do. Oh, we're gonna do now. We can do a Juneteenth festival now. Like, are you setting up reparations? Are you setting up reparations in your city? Are you setting up reparation organizations in your city? Black people, black politicians. Are you setting up places for black people to hang out all the time? Black people. Are you setting up money, equity money for black people? Are you doing anything for your community, black people in your cities? Antioch up to Hercules. Because it's going to get real. Because I'm just like, the reason why I'm saying these things, and I'm going to keep on emphasizing it, shit's about to get real really soon. And it's going to get really real. And for a lot of these black people who want to run, my emphasis to you is know what you're running for. Because it's going to get real spooky out here. It's going to get spooky for you and your family. Like I said, if you're not making your extension with smarter and they get stupider, that pistol will come out. That gun will come out. Violence will be heaped on politicians, will be heaped on newscast people, and people think it's a gang, and it's not. It's going to happen because people really don't understand. People don't really have time to communicate in society. We work so much. When do we have time to talk about politics? When do we have time to talk about these things? And that's a real conversation that needs to be had within the steps of Congress. Is that we work too much in this society. We need to have time to think about what does a politician think? What does this person think? What does X, Y, and Z think? You know what I'm saying? Like we need to understand that. And we don't understand that, we're gonna be broke. Our society has to stop. It's the last thing I say. I keep on saying that, but it's the last thing I say is that our society has to start understanding that they cannot use police and capitalism. These politicians cannot use police and capitalism as a way to solve all the problems in your community. You're going to have to be ultra creative. You're going to have to be like Prince out here. You're going to have to be like Michael Jackson. You're going to have to be like Michael Jordan. You're going to have to be a writer, photographer. I don't care what, whoever is your inspiration, black politician person, but you going to have to be creative because I need to see creativity from your politicians. You are in positions of power. You need to stop acting like you're John Reading. You know what I'm saying? You guys acting like you're John Reading. And you don't know who that is, Google the man. And Google and also Google Williams. See, I know the history of black politicians in the Bay Area. And let me tell you, and let me just say this very bluntly, last thing I say is a lot of these black politicians, a lot of the people when Carmelo Anthony said that he said this about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He said he was standing on the shoulders of giants. You black politicians are standing on shoulders of racist white men who didn't know what they were doing about these cities. So good luck. Good luck. Try to fix that mess these stupid white men had given to you. But it's okay. You like that though. It's better being in the ghetto, right?